All right. I've been in some fights in my life, um, and I know a lot of technical things about fighting, how to take people down, this and that. Um, but I have no belts. I have no training, and I'm obviously trying to get into better shape. And I got this cheap punching bag, and it was a humbling experience. It wasn't not what I thought it was. It's pretty much useless. But the funny thing is, I don't hold that every time a trained person gets in a fight with an untrained person, that the untrained person has no chance. A lot of people will say, especially the trained people, say it's 100%. They're absolutely zero chance. It's not even close. I don't hold with that. But getting that simple little punching bag was a humbling experience, because I will say this. If you learn how to ride a bike, you learn how to do it. You taught or self-taught, whatever. You've succeeded and you know how to ride a bike. You could go 20 years and you might be a little rusty, but you can jump on that bike and ride it again, because it's sort of ingrained into your head. And chances are, when you learn, you rode a lot. You didn't just learn how to ride a bike and then one day and you never got back to it. Or you rode it once a year. That didn't happen. You rode it a lot. As just an example, because I will say, if you're a trained fighter, it gets ingrained into your head. And if you're not, it doesn't. Because it's a very humbling experience. I got the bag aired up and everything, got it where it would set in place somewhat. I had to get it where it would bounce off the wall, because it's just full of air. A 4-year-old could just bounce it off the floor. There's nothing to it. I don't know what the purpose of it is. So I made it where it would bounce off the wall, that, it would actually come back at me, and I could actually throw some punches. And that was a very humbling experience, because when you don't really have the teaching and the training, because chances are, if somebody's had the training, they've had a lot of training. It's ingrained into their head. With me, I just had to do what I could do, what I needed to do, and it served me all right. But it was a humbling experience, because you throw that punch, you're like, oh no, that was a terrible punch. And I'm sure I can get back with it. I've had some things happen between now and the last fight. It's been a while. But it just shows you, everybody needs that sort of training. If you ever think you're going to be in a fight, even though there's a 1% chance, you better do a little bit of training. Get a punching dummy or something like that it can actually take some punches. But I say all that to point out one thing. You can look up the world's worst fighters on YouTube, and that is, I'm sure I'd be better than that. I'm sure I would. I hope to God I would. That's the mixed experience you have, mixed reaction you have in watching that. You're like, you feel both inspired and horrified, because on one hand you're like, oh, I can do better than that, and then you think, oh, what if I can't? What if that is me? I don't think it would be, because I'm not afraid of being hit. That's one of the main issues that makes a bad fighter bad, is somebody comes at them and they're like that right there. I'm not like that. I've never been like that. I can absorb pain and punishment pretty readily. But I preface all this. I say all this to preface something I just saw repeatedly. It seems like it's almost always a white guy trying to start some racist thing with a black guy. I don't know why this happens. I don't know why it's the same move. And surely y'all have seen some of it. He keeps picking. This one looks like it was on a bus or a train or something like that. And there's some kind of accent. They may be Australian or English or something like that. Or at least the white guy was. I don't know. I couldn't hear the black guy enough to really tell. But he just keeps picking at him. He finally ends up calling him like Afro Man or something like that. And I was just finally the last straw. And the black guy advances towards him. And when he does, I keep seeing this. there's this almost like a hold down type of movement that the white guy will do, always. He'll do kind of a, what is this? His head is upright and he kind of squats and he kind of does this sort of movement. What is this? And I watched it's going around now. It's a fairly new one. This real long-necked guy, he looks like Jimmy Pardo, runs up on some big guy in some parking lot and starts screaming at him. And when he does, he already whipped his shirt off, and he's got these shorts on, and it's like he's bunching his shorts up when he's coming at him. And you see things like that, and you're like, I feel like people are more than tolerant with a lot of white people. I know it seems like pandering. I know it does. But if you get out enough, you'll see this. It's like, these are just some... How does anybody put up with these people? Seriously. How does anybody put up with them? I have to learn what that weird hoedown type of movement is. What's that supposed to do? What's that based on? You would think they would have seen it somewhere, and that's where they got it from. I don't know. Even Steven Seagal doesn't have moves that ridiculous. What is that? I mean, you can look it up. Let me see. Gotta give you a link to this, or sort of show it in some sort of way. It's the most ridiculous thing ever, and I keep seeing it. Oh, there it is. Let's see. You can see it a little bit here. He's bunching his shorts up. Okay, see. Now watch when he comes at him. What is that move? Where did that come from? Like I said, I'm untrained, but I'm better than that. Apologies for the language there. I did forget about that. But I'm sure you've heard worse if you're on social media at all. But I try to keep this relatively clean. Where does that come from? Because there's one thing about being untrained, but at least I logically know what works. I mean, if somebody's going to come at me, I'm not going to do these weird Dan Bongino things, but roughly you got to have your hands up here, whichever one you want to lead with. It doesn't matter, whichever one you're comfortable leading with. You protect your head, you put your chin down, you do this. You don't stick your head out and sort of do this. What weird orangutan-like, I don't know, that's strange. Anyway, I had to mention that.